Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. I am John Ledyard, and this podcast is energized by our friends over at Celsius. Along with me today, Scott Reynolds, my esteemed boss, back on the podcast after a one podcast suspension. Scott, how are you on this fine Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve?
I'm doing good, John, and I'm glad I'm not suspended anymore.
Yeah, it was a tough. Actually. That's true. Just in time for a big game preview, just in time for Thanksgiving, and I almost had everybody suspended on the podcast. Rolled yesterday on the podcast, first 5 minutes solo until Mark Cook showed up, got his mic and everything plugged in, and the fans were very worried they were going to have to listen to another podcast similar to the one after Antonio Brown signed, where I was just rambling for half an hour. So thankfully, we got Mark in here and we were able to get it up and going. But we've got a good show planned for today, Scott, because I don't want to brag too much on us, but the last preview show we did with the Rams and the Bucs, we obviously called the game. You called the game exactly right, but we really broke it down. And I thought a lot of the things we talked about came to fruition in that game, some good, some bad. And so we're going to have the opportunity to do that again with a really great opponent, obviously, in the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's one of those things where certainly servicing our audience of diehard Buccaneer fans, I don't like necessarily predicting losses for the team, but that's just one of those that really we felt was coming, and we felt it would be a close game. I mean, your score was pretty darn close. I happened to hit the money on that, but yeah. At the same time, didn't win any money on that. I did win money at my bookie. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, this is tough. I thought that the Buccaneers would split between the Rams and the Chiefs, but after watching what we saw on Monday night, and the injuries, really, John, that we need to talk about in just a second here. It's going to be difficult, I think, for the Bucs in the short week against a top-notch, top-flight opponent and the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs to rebound with a win. But you know what, John? Maybe they need to mix it up at one Buccaneer place and give these guys a Celsius before the game on Sunday. What do you think, John?
I tell you what, Scott, it would be a good strategy because Celsius has been great to us, and they actually are the reason that you're getting this podcast today, because all of this that we're doing today is sponsored by our friends over at Celsius.
John, as you know, Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy. I've been drinking Celsius now for, almost all of 2020. My wife turned me on to Celsius, and I got to tell you, she likes more of like the real fruity flavors, the sweet flavors. This one right here, this Fuji apple pear, is new for fall, and it's pretty good. Wow. I grew up drinking apple juice, and this is a sparkling drink, and it's pretty darn tasty.
That's the one Mark said yesterday on the show. I think that he was going to try that, the Fuji apple.
Yeah. It's the orange is still my favorite. The grape is also in there. But listen, Bucs fans, Pewter Report readers, get you one of these. This is the variety pack from Celsius. It comes in all different sorts of flavors: grapefruit, raspberry acai, the sparkling cucumber lime drink, which is interesting. Peach mango, grapefruit, watermelon. They've got a cola flavor. Haven't tried this yet, but wow. I kind of gave up drinking soda, but this is interesting because it's a cola flavor, and this is actually the good stuff that's good for you. It's an energy drink that is formulated to work with your body. So whether you need that extra pick-me-up in the middle of the afternoon, which I do at age 48, I'm dragging. That's when I usually hit the Celsius. Or if I'm getting ready to go to the gym, it's a great light tasting beverage that it isn't too heavy, and it really kind of fuels my workout. So make sure you click on the banners, Pewter Report readers on pewterreport.com, the Celsius banners. They're going to take you to Amazon, where you can get the sample pack to find out which flavor you like best, or if you know which flavor is yours, you can order right there through the banner, and you save a lot of money rather than going to necessarily the convenience store and getting them one by one. So, so make sure you do that. Drink Celsius. They are the official title sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast.
I should have some coming this week. They're on the way, I think. And so I'm looking forward to being able to sample some and give my thoughts and opinions as well as this on this matchup, Scott. We've got a really on paper what's looked like since the beginning of the season and what still looks like it could be a really fun matchup because offensive football still sells. I know you're a defensive guy and you love it, and I do too. But at the same time, we know that offense gets people up out of their seats and excited. And this looks like a game where, man, you just look at it and you hope that this could be a game that the Bucs offense kind of gets out of the rut that they've been in. I think the Chiefs defense may be a little bit better than people think they are, but I still hope that this is a game the Bucs offense can find more success in than they did a week ago.
Yeah, I just don't think, though, that they are as good as the Rams are, right? And if the Buccaneers put up 24 points against the Rams defense, I got to think that they can maybe hit that 30 mark, maybe even getting close to 40 against the Chiefs. I do think that this defense in Kansas City presents some opportunities for Tampa Bay to attack them. If you look in the secondary, they don't have that stud, that Jalen Ramsey on the field. Although I do like L'Jarius Sneed, the rookie defensive back out of Louisiana Tech. He's a player that I liked before the draft. I think I had him as a Bucs best bet. In the draft.
He was in my top 100.
Yeah, really good player for them. Yeah. When you factor him and Tyrann Mathieu, Daniel Sorensen, they've got some playmakers. Those three guys, have 7 interceptions between them. But I just think that the better defense is going to win on Sunday, and I think that's what gives the Bucs the chance. But when you talk about defense and interceptions, John, the number that stands out for me is this year. For Patrick Mahomes, 2 interceptions. This guy really, really hard to pick off. And they had some success earlier this year against the quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. They got him a couple times, so maybe they can have some success. John, this game's at 4:25. It's not a night game technically, so maybe that helps out the Bucs.
It's so funny, but it's like the splits are so dramatic for the Bucs this season that even though to me it makes no sense why it would make a difference what time the game is, and it usually doesn't make sense. It's usually just a better team. I mean, the Bucs are clearly better than the Bears and the Giants, but clearly did not play very well in those games, and they played really well in pretty much every afternoon game. And some people will point to the Saints game, but it was week 1, and I still feel like the Bucs played a lot better in that game than most people realize, I think. But it's I don't know. I'm with you, Terrence Davis. I see you saying this primetime thing is not a story. I mean, I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, they've made it a story because it's clearly been a thing so far this season. And so, I don't think it necessarily means that, this is automatically going to be a better game for the Bucs, though. I mean, so that part of it, I'll throw out the window as well. But I do think when you look at this matchup and you think about, I went into this and saw what the Chiefs did. It was kind of like, okay, what do they do well defensively? And, just thinking about the Bucs offense and can they get going this week? And just thinking about what the Chiefs do coverage wise. And, this is a group that's going to play them a lot different, I think, than the Rams did. The Chiefs will be probably, I think, as of like a week or two ago, they had the highest rate of cover 0 snaps in the NFL. Yeah. That's still only like 10% of your coverage snaps for them, which is highest than anyone else. But so they'll give you some 0 looks with no safety help, and they'll blitz, and they'll just have you make a decision quickly. I actually worry about Brady less in those situations than usual. But the reality is you've got to have the routes in place to be able to complete passes in those situations. So him being able to see it pre-snap will be big, and then change the hot to whatever he needs to be to get a completion on those kind of plays, because unlikely you're going to hit a vertical ball under that kind of pressure. So you've got to make sure you're in an offense that gives you an outlet option quickly so that you can get the ball out and stay productive on whatever down it is, to keep yourself out of long down and distances with incompletions or with sacks, even worse.
Yeah. And I want to bring up this point here. We're kind of bouncing back and forth because there's so much to cover between the Chiefs defense, their offense, the Bucs defense, their offense. But, Mr. Hewitt brings up an interesting point here. It's hard to play man against Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes has got some wheels. We haven't seen a quarterback that has the scrambling ability. I mean, really outside of Taysom Hill, but when he was in the game against the Buccaneers, he was running the ball. That was a premeditated run out of the Wildcat. But the Bucs haven't really faced a bunch of scrambling type quarterbacks. While Patrick Mahomes is not exactly Lamar Jackson, this guy, he will take off and pick up 10 yards and convert a third and long with his legs if you do play man coverage, because the backs are turned to the quarterback in that situation, running with a wide receiver. And the reason why we know those backs are going to be turned is because Kansas City's got a bunch of speed at the wide receiver position. It's not just Tyreek Hill. We're talking Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. These guys can flat out fly. And then you also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a guy that out of the backfield can run the wheel route, and he's got some pretty decent speed to him himself. So really interesting. I'm the guy that's been saying don't play zone, Todd Bowles, because of the dink and dunk style. We saw that certainly on Monday night, John. 84% completion percentage. Jared Goff carving up the Bucs soft zone coverage. But this is one of those games where I'm not saying play soft zone, but man-to-man presents its challenges, especially if Jamel Dean can't play. And what did we learn about the Bucs injury situation today? Because that's going to be a big factor on a short week against a really good team like Kansas City. A lot of guys on the injury report right now.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see. We've had some miscommunications with Arians on the injury report before. So-and-so didn't practice. Well, they're actually limited, so we haven't gotten the official injury report yet. But what he said, he mentioned that Donovan Smith hadn't practiced today, I believe. Was he the only player that didn't practice at all? And Jamel Dean is concussed.
Jamel Dean and A.Q. Shipley.
And
then Ali Marpet. So Marpet and Jamel Dean are still in the concussion protocol. So even if Marpet was practicing, it was probably in a limited capacity. And, we'll find out soon what the injury report is. But Donovan Smith, I'm going to guess he will play. He finished that game with that rolled ankle. And I know sometimes after the game, it could swell up on you, right? But he's a gamer just like Mike Evans did. When Mike Evans rolled his ankle against the Chargers, he played on Thursday night against the Bears. I would expect Donovan Smith, even with a short week, to go out there and give it a go at left tackle. But really, the interesting thing is A.Q. Shipley. Remember, John asked Bruce about Shipley's injury Monday night after the game. He said, we just got a stinger. Nothing to worry about.
This is what I mean. It's hard to know what's true.
He missed practice today. And what we did find is if Ali Marpet and A.Q. Shipley can't go this week, Ryan Jensen would return to center and Aaron Stinney would come in at left guard and replace Marpet, if that's the situation. Still a couple practices to go tomorrow. The Bucs will be practicing on Thanksgiving, then Friday's practice for sure. The walkthrough Saturday, then all of a sudden the Chiefs come to town. But it's going to be interesting to see now because you got kind of a banged up offensive line, John. And the Chiefs' defense is not exactly what the front four is. And we just received the injury report.
Yeah, you're going to crack up. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Here's the actual injury report as it differentiates from what Bruce said. Jamel Dean did not participate, so that is as expected. Tanner Hudson still did not participate. Chris Godwin with the finger, full participant. Ali Marpet, full participant in practice. So full participant in practice, but he remains in the protocol still.
Right.
So that's good news. And then how he fares after this practice and what he does tomorrow will actually probably be an indication. I don't want to say whether he plays, but there's not a lot. If you go back in the protocol tomorrow or go back in the process, still pretty limited chance you'll play. So we'll see how he does. Limited participant for JPP. That's nothing new. A.Q. Shipley did not participate. Donovan Smith did not participate. And Ryan Smith was a limited participant with an ankle. Again, thin at corner, so we'll have to keep an eye on him as well.
And John, the Chiefs, full participation from everybody on the roster. So this is a healthy Chiefs team coming to Raymond James Stadium on Sunday. So not only are they 9-1, not only are they the defending champions, not only do they have an MVP candidate again and Patrick Mahomes, they're fully healthy. So the Bucs don't even catch a break strategically at this position or that position because of the fact that they got out of their game against the Raiders unscathed. The Buccaneers, on a shorter week playing Monday night, did suffer some of those key injuries. And, we'll have to keep an eye on them.
Well, it is kind of a makeshift offensive line, and it seems like let's focus on the Chiefs' offense too for right now and how the Bucs defense matches up. But it seems like it is kind of a makeshift Chiefs offensive line right now. I mean, Mitchell Schwartz is on injured reserve, maybe the best right tackle in the NFL. Kalichi Osemele was a guy that they signed. He was off to a great start early in the season with them, the veteran, and he got hurt and put on injured reserve. Remember, Lauren Duvernay-Tardif opted out of the season to do some medical stuff. I can't remember exactly where or the details of that situation surrounding COVID, though. He was working on that front. And so they kind of are down some of the normal starters that they would have in this group. But Andy Reid just pieces it together on the offensive line like no other. I mean, Andrew Wiley and Nick Allegretti are their guards right now. Daniel Kilgore is kind of a cast-off veteran who's bounced around at center. Mike Remmers is back at right tackle for this team. Eric Fisher back on the left side. He was banged up a little bit, I think, or maybe it was a COVID list thing for him for a while, and now he's back on there. So, yeah, not the group that they really envisioned going into the year with for sure. And it's been kind of a makeshift season for them, but it's hard to tell by looking at it, Scott, because they've given up the tied for the fourth fewest sacks given up this season. They just haven't, I think it's 13 or something like that 12, on Patrick. 12 is it? Okay. So hardly given up any. I think the Steelers at least with 10. So that gives you an idea how few sacks. And obviously Mahomes is a big part of that. He just he's one of those quarterbacks that, and this is why I think it could be low key a weird game for Shaq Barrett, because Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks that will bail out of the back of the pocket, and it works for him because you can throw while backpedaling with velocity. So it's like a rare combination of this is a bad idea, and he also throws back across his body in the middle of the field. So he breaks a lot of rules, but I say that to say this is one where, Shaq Barrett's been getting pretty high on those rushes. We've barely seen him go inside all season on rushes, which is a big mistake normally, I think. But this could be an opportunity for him to be able to dip in or to run outside and get outside of tackles and still be able to get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes, because right now that has not been something that's coming for Shaq Barrett very easily. I mean, pressure is when quarterbacks hold the ball because he works really hard, but he's not producing the way that they'd like him to produce. And so this is a big game for him, I think. I mean, we've said that a couple times this season, and eventually you got to start delivering. But when you face a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you can only blitz so much before it burns you. So you have to be able to get home and get an impact from your top guys. And he's going up against another backup tackle. It seems like Shaq Barrett's had a ton of backups this season. Another backup tackle he's going up against in Remmers.
The production just isn't there like it needs to be. And it's like, Warren Sapp used to tell me, and listen, I know that the analytics and the stat nerds, they love pressures, but I'm telling you, it's like, you want to get paid in this league, you got to get the quarterback on the ground. Sacks get you paid, sacks get you in the Pro Bowl, not pressures. And there's a big difference between a pressure, because you can pressure Patrick Mahomes, like you said, you can get him backpedaling and dropping 12 yards deep, and he'll still chuck the ball down the field with accuracy, and the ball's not going to die. It's not going to be underthrown. He still has the strength to get the ball down the field with velocity to a guy like Tyreek Hill or Mecole Hardman and make big plays, even under pressure. So if you want to really get to Mahomes and affect him, you got to hit him and you got to get him on the ground. And especially on third downs, because this guy, again, he will beat you by moving in and around the pocket. And if there's an alleyway, he's a young cat, man. He will get out there and run. It's not that he looks to run first, but if there is an opportunity, he'll do that. And he's got the wheels to pick up 10, 12 yards and really make defensive coordinators. I know Todd Bowles doesn't have any hair, but he makes defensive coordinators pull their hair out, because he's got that escapability in and around the pocket and outside the pocket too. Shaq Barrett, I mean, this guy is losing money. And Jason Pierre-Paul, I think, is having a very good year this year from an overall impact perspective, making splash plays. We saw that with the interception on Monday night. But John, Shaq Barrett, I don't know if he's going to be back next year.
He's not. Right. I mean, like with the cap being down and how much edge defenders cost, and somebody's still going to pay a lot of money for him, I bet. He'll finish the season with 8 sacks or so. And, you look at the tape of his sacks so far this season, and you're not going to see a lot of high quality 1v1 wins. It's just not how they've come. It's not to say he's never had one this season. It's just, this is a guy that led the league in sacks in a great pass rush era. He led the league in sacks, which is crazy. And his pressure rates were good too, but it's just not coming together this year.
Ben Elliott just brings up a good point. Are we really just saying that Vita Vea was exactly as important as we thought he was to Shaq's sacks last year? Yeah. I mean, that pressure up the middle, collapsing the pocket, is going to force the quarterback to go, to his right, to his left, and right into the arms sometimes of the edge rushers. And we just haven't seen that this year. We have not seen enough push up there to flush a quarterback towards Shaq Barrett or Jason Pierre-Paul. Usually when those guys have had success, it has been beating the tackle one-on-one. And as you pointed out, John, and accurately so, Shaq just hasn't done that on nearly a consistent enough basis.
Right. And playing Mahomes is very odd too. I mean, there's nothing, like I said already, he breaks a ton of rules. And so it's hard enough for pass rushers.
You mean like throwing across his body?
Yeah, he throws back across his body to the middle of the field, and he can miss passes like on early downs. And he's 17th right now in adjusted completion percentage in the NFL. Like, it's not like he's lighting it up in that regard. He's not even necessarily efficient. Whereas somebody like Brady, I feel like I'm like always harping on what happens on first down, what happens on second down, because he has to be efficient to be successful, like almost every quarterback in the NFL. It's just not true for Patrick Mahomes. Like, he just doesn't have to have that. Like, he can not be that efficient, and he can still convert third and long as often as he does. I mean, this is a team, their second and third down percentage this season, but they haven't been all that efficient. Like, first and second down can be a little bit of an adventure sometimes, but they've been so good on third downs, it doesn't really matter. And they're first in passing yards. And, he's deep ball completions. He only has 18, which is the same number of deep ball completions as Tom Brady. I think if you'd have told people that, I'm talking about passes that travel 20 plus yards in the air, by the way, if you'd have told people at the beginning of the season that Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady would be tied with deep ball completions and going into week 12 matchup, I think that people would have been like, wow. But it really hasn't been like we talked about Brady's start to the season being great with the deep ball. Mahomes is just it's been like pick and choose your moments with it. It hasn't been like a massive part of their offense this season. I mean, that's the sixth most deep balls in the league. So in general, I think deep ball passing is down around the league, but
except in Tampa Bay.
Except in Tampa Bay.
Chuck it down the field.
Attempts are up. Yeah, right. Yeah. Attempts are up. Teams are kind of scheming to take it away more, I think, from teams. But I mean, it is one of the craziest things about it, though, is that even though as much as he may, not throw that many deep balls, but the yards that they're getting off the deep ball are insane. I mean, they are getting just an insane amount of yards, not only off the deep ball, but off of when they're pressured. I mentioned this to you before the show, but 28th, Mahomes is 28th right now in adjusted completion percentage when under pressure. So it's not like there's no efficiency under pressure, but that's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL, as I was talking about. There's not like a great efficiency under pressure, but under pressure, he's the fourth most amount of passing yards. So he completes high degree of difficulty plays under pressure. So it's not efficient necessarily. It's not a high completion percentage, but when he hits them, he's making them count for huge plays, and they're really tough plays that most quarterbacks can't make. And that's what makes him so difficult, is because just when you do everything right defensively, he can still make a play to beat you. And let's just be honest, Scott, the Bucs haven't really done everything right defensively for a while now. And so it's concerning when, even if your process is good, the result can be bad.
And when you say bad, it's like Jamel Dean has not played exceptionally well over the last couple of games, but you want him out there on Sunday because all hands on deck against this Chiefs arsenal of wide receivers. And so to me, Ross Cockrell, he's going to be thrust into the mix. Sean Murphy-Bunting has not played well this year. Carlton Davis has, but okay, so Carlton can erase one guy, whether it's Tyreek Hill on this play or Sammy Watkins on that play. The Chiefs still have a lot of weapons, and it's going to take a collective effort on defense, I think. They're really going to have to step up, and that's why I'm not really liking the Bucs this week.
It's just going to take something great, and especially with Sammy Watkins being back, Scott. Like, I didn't know what his status was going to be, and seeing that he's a full participant today, it's just, I mean, that's been the one thing with the Chiefs. People can focus a little bit on Tyreek Hill, and you hope you have a matchup guy for Travis Kelce, and most teams haven't. But with Sammy Watkins back in there, he's just so much better than McCole Hardman or than Demarcus Robinson. And so it just adds a whole nother level to what their offense is able to accomplish, makes them that much more difficult. And when you're down one of your top corners, even as bad as Jamel Dean's played recently, it gets a little scary on paper.
It does. I think the only thing that Patrick Mahomes doesn't do well, and as Long Lost Leisure points out, he's not perfect. He puts ketchup on steak. That's a big no-no at the Reynolds house.
That's a huge.
If you want to use some Worcestershire sauce, if you want to use some steak sauce, that's fine. You put a barbecue sauce, right? Because I'm a Kansas City guy at heart. growing up there. Not a Chiefs fan, not anymore.
On your steak, though.
Well, it depends. If it's a fillet or a really good ribeye, then no. But if you have a little bit more of like a sirloin or
a little denser,
like even a strip sometimes. If I'm in the mood for barbecue sauce, I'll do that. It's not my go-to, but I'm just saying barbecue sauce before ketchup. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he can't do ketchup. And what else did he say? He said he put ketchup on his Thanksgiving turkey or something.
That's a big no-no too. Yeah. So we're gonna put up here. Mr. Hewitt says, I went to MyBookie and bet on us. Laugh out loud. Segue. So appreciate the setup there, Mr. Hewitt. We're going to get right into the MyBookie segue and the MyBookie ad right now. And listen, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. If you're listening to us live or watching us on Wednesday, that means tomorrow's Thanksgiving. If you're not, then maybe you're listening to us on Thanksgiving. But the great thing is Thanksgiving's all about traditions like the turducken and mashed potatoes and betting on football with MyBookie's Turkey Day free play. Now, you got to listen up, fans. This is really good. MyBookie's third annual Turkey Day free play returns tomorrow, Thanksgiving Thursday. It's your chance to bet up to $250 risk-free on the early Thanksgiving game. Okay, that's the Lions-Texans game. The Turkey Day free play is a no-risk, all-gravy wager on the full game spread. Pick the right team and you win. If your team is upset, your bet up to $250 is refunded before the next afternoon game. So you can't lose. New players will get their first deposit matched halfway up to $1,000 to help add even more excitement to the greatest football weekend of the year. That's right. Make your first deposit and get extra cash that you can use on parlays, teasers, and props all weekend long. Use the promo code Pewter in order to claim your bonus and your free bet. And the best part is that's only the beginning. MyBookie has promotions all holiday weekend long. Turkey Day free play is on Thanksgiving Thursday. That rolls into Black Friday boosted odds. So check out MyBookie for what that contest and promotion's all about. And then it finishes strong with the buy one, get one free Cyber Monday Night Football deal. That's why at MyBookie they call football season winning season. Check it out now. Use the promo code Pewter. No risk, all gravy, baby. Don't forget the promo code Pewter. Claim all your freebies at MyBookie.
Well, we've talked about this Bucs defense and how they're going to match up and how we don't see it working out or being that successful. But let's be positive, Scott. Let's be a little more optimistic. Last time people were mad at us, they were like, "Well, man, you think the Rams were the best team ever?" I got a couple of those comments. I mean, they look pretty good.
But better than the Buccaneers on Monday. We just, we're not going to blow smoke up your ass, people.
That's
it's
right.
Like we're going to call it like we see it. We're not cheerleaders for the team. Do we want the Buccaneers to win? Of course we do. For you guys, you're Buccaneer fans. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, we have to call it like we see it. And that's I think, why you trust us, Pewter Nation, because we give the honest, unvarnished analysis and truth when it comes to your football team.
Right. And that's why when it comes for opinion-based analysis on the Bucs, we're going to always be giving you the best content out there. And so, but we'll do that by looking at things completely. And so in this game, it's like, okay, how do the Bucs, what's the best thing for them to do strategy-wise to come out in this game? I've thought a ton about it. I don't think there is just an answer. This is what it is. You know what I mean? Against the Rams, it was like easy on paper. It's like, if you pressure Jared Goff, he will crumble based on all the data and all the tape that we had. He'll crumble and you give yourself a chance to win the game. They didn't pressure him that much. They pressured him some. He didn't crumble. He was marvelous in the face of pressure, and so they didn't. So they didn't win the games. But that was the strategy. It was clear what the strategy should be, and it just didn't. It didn't work, and they didn't execute it well enough either. So, but against this game, I'm really not sure. People have already tried pretty much everything against Patrick Mahomes. Not much has worked. The Raiders have had some interesting ideas this season, mixing up, and they're a bad defense. They're worse defense than the Bucs, but they mixed up coverages a little bit to try and confuse them. They've kind of drafted, I think, to basically stop Mahomes, and which is a smart, perspective to take. But I think it's kind of, they forced him to make plays out of structure a lot the other night, and he made enough of them. Then they lost, and they don't have any pass rush either, the Raiders. So that was a big difference. So I think watching the Raiders gives me some level of hope to say, okay, and again, this is without Sammy Watkins, who makes a difference. But it's like, okay, if we can rotate our safeties a little bit, the Bucs are predominantly a single high coverage team. But if they can get a little more too high mixed in there and take away the big play, I think taking away the big play is really important in this game. The Chiefs are 5th in yards per attempt, so they still like to hit them in chunks, and it's not just vertical. They will hit big plays horizontally too, so you just have to be aware of crossers. And Antoine Winfield can't be hanging back like he did against the Rams. You've got to be jumping crossers and trusting the corners to replace
just like Jordan Whitehead did, right? He was aggressive, see ball, get ball, right? And no hesitation, boom. Jordan Whitehead made a very aggressive play, came up with an interception. It was a hero play. And the Buccaneers, John, they're going to need some heroes on Sunday.
No doubt.
They're going to need some guys that are they're superstars like Jason Pierre-Paul, Levante David. These guys have to be superstars, first of all. And then you have to have some guys that are usually the sidekicks rise up to superhero status. Guy like Jordan Whitehead, a prime example. I thought he had a really good game against the run and the pass on Monday Night Football. He's a guy that is going to he's going to see his share of Travis Kelce. And right now, the Buccaneers don't have anybody that can really match up with Travis Kelce. Levante David, they don't like to match him up in man. They'll use Levante in zone coverage where he can use his eyes and diagnose plays and break on the ball that way. Levante has a pick this year. He's dropped a couple, but that's where Levante David eats. That's where he thrives, is in zone coverage where he can do that. So you're going to see, I think, a lot of bracket coverage with Levante underneath and then a safety over the top. You will see some man. Todd Bowles will mix it up and put Jordan Whitehead on Kelce, but that's not a great matchup. But whoever it is, whether it's Mike Edwards, whether it's Ross Cockrell, whether it's Sean Murphy-Bunting, you're going to need some sidekicks on this team to step up, because this is not going to be a Batman or a Spider-Man winning the game for the Buccaneers on defense. This is going to be, it's going to take the Avengers, the Justice League, the X-Men, whatever you want to call it. It's going to take a cadre of superheroes to beat a Super Bowl caliber team. And you know what?
All of you be superheroes.
Be superheroes. Yes, be super. Put your capes on, and your spandex and get out there and take care of business. But you know what? The interesting thing, John, is they've kind of done this before, and they did it against the Packers. We saw a lot of players step up, and so they're capable of doing that. But the big difference between that Packers game and this game here are two things. Number one, injuries. This is a more banged up Buccaneer team right now than they were against the Packers. Number two, this is a tired Bucs team, man. The bye week doesn't come until after the Chiefs game. And that was a fresher, more active, aggressive type of defense that we saw against Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying that this team is gassed right now, but listen, without a bye week right now, I mean, we're talking, 12 games into the season before the Bucs have their bye week. I like the Bucs' chances in December. It could be a December to remember. They could go 4-0, but I just wonder how much gas they're going to have in the tank coming off of a Monday night game, a hard-fought Monday night game, and getting ready to face a team that's fully healthy, fully loaded, and is the defending Super Bowl champions, John.
Right. And it's kind of like, man, I mean, we're going to talk about the Bucs offense here in a minute, but it's kind of like you look, man, the Bucs offense, is probably, is one of the better units in the league most weeks this season. And the Bucs defense is better certainly than the Raiders and the Panthers, who are right there with the Chiefs, down the stretch in a couple of games. And that's the thing. The Chiefs, as good as they are, the Bucs have blown some people out this year. They've blown a handful of teams out this year, to be honest. And really early in the season, penalties and a lot of mistakes helped keep teams in it that the Bucs were just outplaying them other than those moments. And they've really cut a lot of the penalties out. And so it's helped them in some games. But the Chiefs, I mean, even if you look, they obviously they crush teams like the Broncos and the Jets a little bit, but then the Panthers is close. They go into their bye. It's a 2-point game against the Panthers. They missed a field goal at the end. It was a long one. Bye week, and then the Raiders. We all saw that game Sunday night, and it was kind of like, again, they were down with 2 minutes left or whatever it was, and then they drive down and they get the game-winning score, and the Raiders just blow the coverage completely inexplicably. And so there's been a lot of those games this year where it's kind of
wait, hold on. You mean you're not supposed to cover Travis Kelce in the end zone? Is that bad defense, John?
I think, I mean, you could just always try your luck and see what happens. But I mean, I think most of the time, that was one of the worst defensive plays of the year.
Oh my gosh. I got to think, John Gruden, he loves the tight end position, right? I mean, he just does. And he's got Darren Waller for the Raiders. I got to think somewhere on John Gruden's whiteboard, right? It's like when it's the Chiefs Raiders, week, and you're doing the game plans and the team comes back on Wednesday. All right, guys, Here's what we're going to do. Number one, don't let Travis Kelce beat us, man. You got it? Right? I mean, that's probably number one on the board.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? And what do they do? Let Travis Kelce beat him. Easy.
Yeah.
Give me a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a pretty unfortunate play by several members, including Carl Nassib, who got truck sticked on that play a little bit. But yeah, no. So I think that there's on paper, it's kind of like, well, I feel like the Bucs might be able to give him a game, but again, it's going to come down to this offense, Scott, being so much bad. Just look at the Bucs defense and say, even if you get an opportunistic play here or there, the offense obviously has to convert that, I think, but I just don't know how the Bucs win this game if they're not scoring high in the 30s. I just don't think that this is a game like last game with the Rams. What I said Todd Bowles has to be the hero in this game. Like this Bucs defense has to be the hero in the story of the night, and they weren't good enough. And then it was you flip the script, and now this week I just think the Bucs offense has to carry the night. I just don't know how anyone. I mean, look at the Raiders. I mean, we all watched that game. We all watched the Raiders and the Panthers games, and we thought, this defense has done a good job on Mahomes, and they scored in the 30s. You know what I mean? It just you have to do that. I think in today's NFL, you're going to beat the Chiefs. You have to basically have a game plan that gets in execution that gets you into the 30-point range. I don't know how you win other than that.
I'm with you, and I really think putting schemes aside, what's going to do it for the Buccaneers? If the Buccaneers are going to win this game, they're going to have to take a page out of the Rams playbook to a degree. And what that is scoring right before the half. I'm not sure how the coin toss is going to go, but they've got to – I think the Bucs need to be the team that scores the last at the end of the first half and at the end of the second half, because we've seen in a lot of these Chiefs games, whether it was the Panthers game you referenced, whether it was the Raiders game that we just watched Sunday night, it comes down to the last – play sometimes. Now they did destroy the Jets, right? 35-9. They beat the Broncos 43-16. But the Buffalo game, 26-17. Those last two games against Carolina and Las Vegas, I talked about beating the Chargers and Justin Herbert's debut as a starter, right? That was week 2, and they beat the Chargers in overtime 23-20. They lost the game against Las Vegas at home at Arrowhead. That's their only blemish this year, 40-32. That's a one-score game. So I think what has to happen for the Buccaneers is schematics. Yeah, that's going to play a role. Play calling is going to play a role, but game management, clock management, possession management is going to be key. If the Buccaneers can score on the last series before halftime, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, and if they can have the ball at the end of the game and put points on the board, whether it's a Ryan Suckup game-winning field goal, whether it's a Tom Brady touchdown, that's how the Buccaneers win in this game. I don't like a lot of the matchups. I don't like the health. We've talked about that. The Bucs are banged up. The Chiefs are healthy. I think game management is going to be huge. If Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hands the last series of the game, the Chiefs are going to win.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Not only does it have to be game management, it has to be good execution, better execution than we've really seen them against any team that isn't pretty bad this year. I mean, the Packers, they definitely executed well. Again, the Raiders defense is brutal, but they executed great against the Raiders. We have to see that kind of execution, and you have to hit the vertical balls. I mean, they hit vertical balls in those games. I said last week, I don't really care if they hit the vertical balls against the Rams. Just don't try them that much. They tried them a ton. It didn't work out. They weren't even there. Everybody's talking about Brady can't hit the deep ball, and I'm not saying those passes are good, but again, deep ball wasn't there. Don't force it when it's not there just to throw it. You're wasting downs, and you're putting the ball in harm's way, as they did on 2 interceptions the other night. You have to be patient, but also against this Chiefs defense, you've got to be able to hit plays down the field. And so I wonder, Scott, is this the game? We've been saying it. We've been hinting at it. I even threw out a 200-yard prediction. Is this the game for Mike Evans? Can we get this guy like a 150-yard game? Is that going to happen this season? I mean, I know we got there's 4 great defenses lined up for him to eat at the end of the season. But even in this one, Javarius Ward, L'Jarius Sneed, Bashaud Breeland's a solid player. Those guys have all played well, but I don't know that anybody, and the Chiefs will play some man coverage. They will. They will give their corners those chances. And I just feel like Mike Evans has got to eat. He's got to beat guys one-on-one, make plays down the field. And I'm not hating on Tom Brady when I say this, but Mike Evans was awesome against Jalen Ramsey. Mike Evans, I mean, when he got targeted, when he didn't get targeted. And I'm not saying there's reads and there's pressure and there's different things affect things, but Mike Evans was whooping up on Jalen Ramsey the other night. And he looked like prime Mike Evans again, as he did against James Bradbury. I think this guy's all the way back. He's fully healthy. There's big plays to be had if they can find him in the passing game in this game.
If they can find him. And that's where it falls on Tom Brady's shoulder is can he find him?
Yeah.
Can he throw him the ball? Jameis Winston certainly had his faults. The one thing is when Mike was hot, Mike got the ball in quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so I believe what you're saying, and I haven't gone back and looked at that tape yet, but the times that I was watching Mike Evans, he was open, he was getting, he was doing work out there on Monday night, and he is back. I just don't know if they're going to force feed Mike the ball as much. And the reason I say that is because go back and look, John, at these last 2 games that have come down to the Bucs need a field goal to either tie or win the game, against Chicago on Thursday night, against the Rams on Monday night. And where was Tom Brady going with the football? Cam Brate.
Was it Brady? Was it Hudson in the Bears game? Or am I remembering that wrong? Was it Brady again?
On 4th down, he was going to Cam Brate. Down the field. Why? Like, I love Cam Brate. One of my favorite.
But he's a red zone, short yardage guy.
I like him on 3rd and 4, picking up 5 yards, getting the first down. I don't like him 15, 20, 25 yards down the field in any situation. He can't go up and win a 50-50 ball. He's not going to outrun anybody. Right. I don't understand the first of all, the play call that has Cam Brate on the field running vertical routes, right? So part of the blame goes on Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you want to throw deep to somebody on 4th down, where's Scotty Miller? Make him the guy, right?
Put Scotty Miller on the field. It'd be nice to see him.
Or maybe throw to Mike Evans. Circling back around to your point, John, maybe throw to Mike Evans in those critical situations, right? If you're going to force the ball in there to somebody, right? Make it be to the 6'5" Skywalker, the guy that can leap out of the gym and go up and get it, right?
Yeah, right.
So partly, I don't think Mike Evans is going to eat the way you think he can or want him to, in the way I want him to too, because of the dumb play calling by Byron Leftwich in instances like that, and Tom Brady's penchant for throwing to Cam Brate. Don't get it.
Yeah, it's so I mean, there's so many options now that even if Cam Brate, he played 29 snaps the other night, and and Scotty Miller played 15, and so if I'm the Bucs, I'm getting 4 receivers on the field, but again, I'm doing probably different things with the routes than they're doing with the routes a lot of the time. You're going to see a big difference between the way these teams attack. The Chiefs understand horizontal spacing and horizontal passing and how that can benefit an offense, and the Bucs are just so vertically based that they just don't use it enough, and it's a big problem. And I think that something that needs to change. But this offense still has potential. When they can hit big plays in this game, I know the Chiefs defense has been good. Mentioned them being 5th in yards per attempt on offense. They're 5th per yards per attempt on defense. This is going to unsettle Bucs fans, I think. But the Rams have the least amount of air yards that they've allowed in this season, and the Chiefs have allowed the 2nd least amount of air yards. So they have done a great job of limiting big plays in the passing game, but differently than the Rams. They aren't literally constructed to limit big plays in the passing game. They are there to be had against the Chiefs. And one of the ways that they're there to be had, I know this isn't the Bucs' forte, but they're there to be had in missed tackles. The Chiefs have missed, or they're 29th in missed tackles this season. They've missed, I think, 84 missed tackles this season. So there's only a few teams that have missed more tackles than the Chiefs. You got to take advantage of that. You have to be able to move the ball on these guys. And some of that comes after the catch and making plays with the ball in your hands. Not really the forte of this Bucs receiving group. Supposed to be Chris Godwin's forte. Has been an area of criticism for me with his game this year, and really all these weapons. Have they really played at their peak performance? We talk about Brady, we talk about Leftwich, we talk about Arians. We've said the offensive line's had a great season. Have the Bucs weapons really played their best football? I don't know that they have this season. Injuries have been a part of it for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but I really think that if they can get it together this last month, the group still has a chance to peak in time for the playoffs, but it has to start in this game. I mean, you have to make an impact against the Chiefs. And one of the big areas, red zone, Scott.
Yeah.
As much as we might say good things about the Chiefs defense, they are last in the NFL in red zone defense. 75.9% of the time they are giving up touchdowns, and it's trending the wrong way for them. 89% over the last 3 games. Basically, you get in the red zone, it's almost an auto touchdown against the Chiefs lately. Obviously, you can't take that to the bank. Red zone still has some fluidity to it as a statistic, but it's a pretty good indicator that a Bucs team that has been great in the red zone really almost the entire season, except for that little stretch against the Panthers, they really have been pretty dominant in that area of the field, and they're going to need to do it. You cannot, against the Chiefs, settle for field goals, and that includes be aggressive on 4th down early in this game and often in this game.
If Ryan
Don't wait.
Succop is kicking field goals, they need to be from 40 yards out. They really do, because if you're inside the 10-yard line and you got to settle for field goals, then you're settling for 7-5 is what you're doing. You're not going to have a chance to beat the Chiefs. You're not going to have a chance to win 8 games on this Sunday. And so that's one thing that concerns me a little bit is, and we've seen it, and they didn't necessarily need to do it against Carolina. They really took control of that game in the second half, John. But boy, Ryan Succop had 3 field goals from inside 28 yards. You'd like to see better goal-to-go offense and better play selection, better execution, and get those touchdowns on the board. It didn't matter as much against a lesser opponent like Carolina. It's going to matter the most, as you said, against a very tough team in Kansas City coming to town. And you know what? It's finally not coming to town anymore, John. Hurricanes. I think we're finally over hurricane season. It's almost the end of November, right? But at the same time, there's a need. Like if you went back and looked at the number of tropical storms, and you're about to move to Florida, you missed hurricane season, John.
Just slid in under hurricane season.
Right. But the thing is June is only about 7 months away, and it's all over again down here in Florida. But there's one place to turn, though, for home insurance needs, for car insurance, for commercial insurance. Where would I find that place, John?
Yeah, Briar-Greaves Insurance, Scott. You know this because you just switched to them recently, and you've been overwhelmed with how good the product has been and how great they have been in working with you to save you money. So call Briar-Greaves Insurance. Family-owned, has served the greater Tampa Bay area for 30 years for your home, auto, boat, life, commercial, and flood insurance needs. A lot of homeowner companies are canceling or not renewing policies, leaving Florida, or increasing premiums significantly. But you can call Briar-Greaves and speak directly to Briar or Sam for a personalized touch for information on the best rates. The folks at Briar-Greaves Insurance are big fans of the Bucs. You get plenty of Bucs talk when you talk to them. That's why I'm waiting to get in touch with them when I get down there, talk a little Bucs with them. And proud sponsors of the Pewter Report podcast on pewterreport.com. Visit briargreavesinsurance.com or call 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166 today. It's an opportunity to save money heading into the holiday season. Got to take advantage of it because what they're offering is some really good stuff over at Briar-Greaves.
Absolutely. John, I think it's time for us to offer up our picks. Before we do that, though, thanks.
Go ahead. You do your before we do that, and then I have a before we do that.
So before we do that, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and I kind of want to talk about a couple things. I'll give you a second to think about it. What are you thankful for, John? So get that prepped in your mind. What I'm thankful for is a couple of things. Number one, you Buccaneer fans have been rock steady with us all season long. We didn't have an off season to report on, and yet you're still there coming to the website for our post-draft analysis. I know that wasn't fun not having OTAs in mini camps to not cover, and in a very abbreviated training camp, but you guys were there. We have had a record year in terms of web traffic, and it's all because of you. Yeah, Tom Brady's got something to do with it, but you guys, Buccaneer fans, have been absolutely outstanding, so we appreciate that. You've been so supportive of our Pewter Report podcast, showing up and showing out with the super chats, with your attendance, with watching us on YouTube. And by the way, you can go to YouTube and find us there at Pewter Report TV and subscribe. We would appreciate that. But you Buccaneer fans and Pewter Report readers and listeners have been absolutely awesome. So I want to thank you for that. Number two, I want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support and outpouring of love that I received when my mother passed away. It's been it's been a month now. It's been a very, very quick month. We're going to feel her loss tomorrow at Thanksgiving, but and her birthday is up on December 20th, so right before Christmas. So it's going to be a little tough at the Reynolds household, but you guys were there with a lot of support. I really appreciate that. That's tremendous. Number 3, thankful for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for being 7-4. Right, John? We haven't talked about the draft yet. That's a good thing, because usually by middle of October, you haven't been here in years past, but man, it's like we flipped the page quickly because we know the Bucs are destined for a top 10 draft pick, and fans are always looking ahead. Okay, this season it's middle of October, it's down the tubes. Who's on the horizon? Where are the saviors for this franchise? The good thing is Jason Light's hit on enough draft picks, and certainly Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield now, John,
right,
in this year's draft class. So, to where the record is flipped. Instead of being 4-7, this team is 7-4 this year. They were 4-7 last year, and did, to their credit, go on a bit of a winning streak. Kept things interesting in December before faltering. Had a shot at 9-7. Dropped a couple of winnable games at home. Team ran out of gas. But this year, I'm thankful for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving the Buccaneer fans out there something to cheer for. 2020 has been a bad year. Maybe not so much for the Tampa Bay area with the Lightning winning and the Rays going to the World Series, but the Buccaneers, I think that it's been a great narrative change, and let's hope that they can make the playoffs this year. I think it's looking good, even if they were to lose on Sunday. We'll get to that prediction in a second, John, but take it away.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's always so many things. It's hard to know where to draw the line with this, but I mean, obviously thankful. I mean, my family's been awesome. The last year has been crazy for us, trying to figure out where the Lord wants us and what we're going to be doing. And obviously starting with Pewter Report was awesome. Didn't know whether I'd be back in sports media at any point. And so being able to start with y'all has been great. And you just bending over backwards for us has been awesome through the COVID era and everything that's gone on. Just being able to make this work and being able to now be about 10 days from moving down there, 11, 12 days from moving down there to Tampa Bay and to being in the area. And Bucs fans have been amazing. I mean, on Twitter, like, it's so different than covering the Steelers, where they get mad at every time you criticize or say something different about the team. And I love Steelers fans too, but it's just different world. They are more likely to say, wow, you might actually be right about that. And so it's a little bit weird. You don't have to be defensive. You don't have to prove it as much. I mean, I'm still trying to, but so it's been really cool. The interactions there. So definitely thankful for Pewter Report and for the fans at Pewter Report. They've been tremendous, and thankful for, my wife's been amazing, like trying to get this move while we're trying to start this podcast up and expand Pewter Report's coverage, and we've seen the traffic. It's just been absolutely insane. So we're trying to match that with, people's desire and want for more coverage with more content. And she has just handled every part of the move. I mean, just everything has been on her shoulders, and she's been unbelievable. And my daughters have been unbelievable as well. So we're just looking forward to getting down there, looking forward to being able to cover this team a little bit live and getting to know the area. And eventually, when this friggin' COVID finally goes away, being able to meet up with some of y'all and have some fan events. And we have so many cool things in store and planned and coming.
And John, you haven't missed anything, because I still have yet to meet Tom Brady. I have yet to have a face-to-face. If you'd be here in Tampa, you'd be doing these Zoom calls and stuff.
That's right.
We haven't been at really one Buccaneer place, in the locker room, in the media room. It's all been watching practices outside, and that's really it. So yes, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my lovely wife, Ashley, and my great family too. Like I said, it's been a difficult time this fall with my mom's passing. They've been a rock for me too, and not just that, but also helping us power through this football season, where it's literally 7 days a week, from August through we say through December, John, but it very well could be January, maybe into February.
True.
But
we'll see.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, one thing, and one player that may not talk to me as much, we've been doing this segment. This will be the second week now. Where's Leonard going? I don't know when I get to Tampa, Scott, if Leonard will talk to me very much. But I can't hold back.
He might
anymore.
not be in Tampa by the time you get here.
Might not be, honestly. He might be gone, although Bruce thinks he has great hands, so we'll see what happens. But look at these Leonard Fournette plays. Look at this man. Where are you going? Where are you going? That's the only unblocked guy. Don't run toward him.
Oh, boy.
What's this?
It's right there, John. It's right through there.
Oh, no, Leonard. Where are you going? And then here, again, Once isn't enough.
Whoa!
Where are you going, Leonard? That's the nose tackle. That's your double team.
Goodness.
Leonard.
Oh.
Don't do it to him, Leonard. Oh no. And then one more, Scott, just because I can't help myself. One more. This is an opportunity. It's a 6-yard game. That's the best game Leonard Fournette's had in I don't know, 6 weeks probably. 6-yard gain, and he could have had a touchdown if he just makes the safety miss, or I don't know. He's 230 pounds.
Right.
Maybe run over a guy. Yeah. Oh, I know. Look. Watch him. Look at this hole.
Whoa.
No! Leonard!
Holes to the outside. The holes to the outside. Run to daylight.
Where are you going, there. Leonard?
Oh, John.
No,
can you stop
Scott.
it? Can you play that again and stop it?
I don't know if I can stop it.
Right.
Look, can I? There. No, I don't think.
Oh, gosh. Donovan Smith's doing work out there, man. Run right behind Big 76.
Leonard.
Oh,
Leonard. Goodness. So anyway, Leonard Fournette, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward to seeing if he can pass up 3 drops and if he can get more than 6 yards on a carry this week. Leonard Fournette. All right, our prediction, Scott. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? Because you usually go. All right, I'll go first.
Go first.
I do think the Bucs, I felt really strongly that they wouldn't win against the Rams. Even though I thought it could be a close game, I just did not feel like the matchup was right for them. And I thought that they would get, even if they came out more patient, which they did, and they scored twice in their first 2 drives, or 2 of their first 3 drives. And it was like, man, this is an opportunity for this team to piece together a patient offense like they haven't had most of the year. And then they started pressing the gas and trying to get to 14 points on one play. And again, and it was just like, like the Rams are not letting you do this, but their other stuff is there if you can stay patient. And so I was why I picked against them. I think the chances are better that they are able to be productive and win this game offensively. And whenever you can generate offense in a game, whenever you're relying on your offense more than your defense, I generally feel better about a team's chances if their offense is up to par. And I think the Bucs offense can be, but at the end of the day, it's just Patty Mahomes. And in clutch situations, the Chiefs have been great this season. Yeah. The Bucs have not been great, and I think it's going to come down to a situation like that. And I trust Patty Mahomes more than any other quarterback in the league. Not even a knock on the Bucs, just Patty Mahomes, Andy Reid. They're ridiculous. I think the Chiefs are probably going to win the Super Bowl again. But if the Bucs can hang with them, and if the Bucs can win this game, they've got to. I mean, look at the last month. I mean, those are some of the worst defenses, some of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. They've got it, and Vikings, we've seen what theyve done against other bad
Falcons
pass defenses.
Twice.
Right, Lions.
Yes, it's there for the taking. This could be a December to remember with a full sweep. But first, they got to get through Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and then they get a bye week. They get like a little bit of reprieve to get healthy and refocused, and maybe you do some self scouting and break some of these tendencies, John, and then really kind of pony up to get these next 4 games in December, because it's not. Remember, guys, it's not how you play in November. It's how you play in December. It's you got to be streaking, got to be peaking heading into the playoffs. And this game's in November. It's not December. And this is against a healthier, defending Super Bowl champion team. This game could either be very close or it could really get out of hand fast against the Bucs. If they have problems with injuries, I could see Kansas City really. This could be a blowout where the Chiefs come in and win. I don't think it's going to, though. But I don't see the Buccaneers blowing out the Chiefs at all like they did against the Packers. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to err on the side that even with maybe Jamel Dean not playing, that Todd Bowles can do some funky things. I'm predicting a couple heroes shedding their sidekick role and stepping up on Sunday afternoon. I still like the Chiefs, though, 34-31. I think that whether that field goal comes at the end of the first half, like we saw against the Rams, going down the field and kicking that field goal with 1 second left after a 35-yard screen by Robert Woods, or whether it's a Patrick Mahomes drive him down at the end and then the kicker nails the game winner. I think it's 34-31 is my prediction. Chiefs win. The Bucs reeling a bit with back-to-back losses against some pretty good playoff caliber teams. Have no fear. December is near.
40-31, my final prediction. Chiefs win 40-31. So there you have it. I'm sorry, Bucs faithful. I'm 10-1 picking Bucs games this season. I did not expect that at all. So there's been a little luck on my side. The only one I got wrong was the Bears one.
Covering the Buccaneers.
If they just the Bears game, Scott. If they Freaking Bears. But
well,
yeah,
and obviously Buccaneer fans hope you're going to be what, 10-2.
10-2. Oh, and I would love to be 10-2.
Yeah.
I would love to be 10-2. And I think I'll probably pick them, we'll see about injuries, but I'd probably pick them the rest of the way. So I mean, if I'm wrong this week, then we'll see what happens the last month.
Sunday night, that's going to be the next time you get to hear myself and John Ledyard and see us if you're watching. Because no podcast tomorrow. Enjoy your turkey, enjoy your football, enjoy your pumpkin pie, and we'll have Thanksgiving Thursday off. The next podcast will be Sunday night after the Bucs and Chiefs play. Then we'll go back to our regular schedule. We'll have Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, and so look forward to that. But John, any other final parting thoughts before we send it off?
I don't think so. We're gonna have a great week next week, and I'm pumped for that podcast after the game. That podcast, last time we had a 425 game, that podcast lit it up, and there was a ton of people in here, and it was great. So looking forward to
you're there. Come
spread the love.
Join the fun. Make sure you buy some Celsius on your Black Friday. They'll probably have some Black Friday deals, so check out Celsius for that.
Win or lose, we're having a Celsius toast during that game or after that game.
No doubt about it. No Fab 5 on Friday. Typically don't do one because it's Black Friday. You guys are out doing your shopping, either at the malls or online. But I will have 4 matchups to watch, taking that part out of my Fab 5. So that'll be on Friday. And I'm going to have a special Thanksgiving Day column tomorrow. So PewterReport.com, check out my column tomorrow, which is Thursday, and then the 4 matchups to watch. Bucs versus Chiefs, that'll be on Friday, as well as our Pewter preview and predictions. So you can find out who Taylor Grizz Jenkins, Mark Cook, and Matthew Matera also picked in the Bucs Chiefs game, as well as a little bit more analysis from John and I on Friday. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. We will see you Sunday. Out.